Hey everyone, I'm so excited to finally share with you my new studio space, I guess. It's just a room in my house. I know I'm very fortunate, but yeah, it's a room in my house that is dedicated to all of my crafts and home office. And I'm going to tell you about each and every part in detail, but in case you just want the overall end result, I included these short videos of every section of my room. And yeah, if you want to hear more about it, please continue watching the video. If you have any questions, leave them below. Also, if you're new here, hi, my name is Irit. I'm a watercolor and mixed media artist and obsessed crocheter living in Austria in Europe. And on my channel, I share all of my watercolor adventures. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to subscribe, I of course would be happy to have you here. Now let's get into today's topic, my new organized space. The most important principle that I was working with, and I think again the home edit for this, is zoning. So because this room serves three main purposes: the art part, the fiber yarn part, and then my home office, computer supplies, camera, equipment, and all that, I realized I needed three separate zones. So here what you see with this storage area and this corner, so basically half the room, is dedicated only to my art supplies, and there is nothing from the other two categories in this. So this, just to start with that, it makes things simpler because I know the space I have and I'm not letting each zone overflow to the others. I just have to figure out if I don't have enough room, which happens, and I'll tell you how I dealt with that. Not very sophisticatedly. Is that a word? Anyway, so that is one principle, and that in itself already kind of simplified the decision making and figuring out what space I had to work with, because it wasn't the entire room, it was just a section. So as you can see, this is an IKEA Kallax. What I have here is a Kallax that I've had since I moved to this house and room. It's the 4x4, and I'll show you now, I actually had a ton more space above it. So what I did was I decided to just, instead of, taking this apart and buying a larger one, which I don't even know if they have. I don't think I could fit here the 5x5 one that they have. And so I don't even know if they had the perfect solution. But anyway, I just decided to buy, since I had this one already, I just decided to buy this one up here and just put it on top. So it looks organized, it looks tidy. It's not, seamless or perfect, but it's perfect for my budget and my needs right now. So the boxes here, I decided to, again, kind of take the aesthetics of the home edit and use that here. What that means is you can see the boxes, they don't fit perfectly into these slots in the Kallax. There is space, and I feel that with my messy nature and the fact that I know these boxes are not going to be organized, and so there's a mess inside them, but as a whole, the way that they look and the fact that there is a little bit of like breathing room around them will give this section of the room a calm appearance, even if it is, within a single box, messy. Everything is labeled, and I'll show you later when I reach my home office section. I'll show you the label maker that I gladly bought. Finally, I had a reason to buy one, and I love it. So as you can see here, there are like little labels, and I tried to keep things not too specific so that I can move things around in boxes and it doesn't get like too fussy. That works for me, just because I'm not a super tidy person. So here what I have is basically all of my supplies that I don't use on a daily basis or don't feel the need to have them you know, within arm's reach. It's very easy. I have already used many of these, and it's very easy to go pick up a box, take out a box and bring it to my painting area, or if I'm painting outside, take it outside, and then when I'm done, bring it back. So far, this looks like it's really working well for me. Now, the boxes, you might notice that there are two here and then a larger one. So I have a few larger ones and they work well for just larger bottles. So if you have large tools or if you have large spray bottles, I'll show you maybe later. But here I have, here in this area, I have some big bottles of acrylic medium and some large containers of paint. So these larger boxes work perfectly. And then the smaller ones work well for most of my other supplies. Yeah, so these boxes are called Samla from IKEA and IKEA as it's known in the US. And I'm laughing. Maybe I'll talk about the name a bit later. But they are very, very inexpensive. They are, you know, relatively sturdy plastic. And you can see that this size fits almost perfectly. I mean, there is a little bit of space, but what is nice about having that space, especially at the top, is that you can open a box and kind of take out what you want without having to take out everything. So while this is not maximizing 100% of the surface or area, I feel it's worth the sacrifice to create a more calming, organized look. So as I said, art supplies here. I have a couple of boxes with some stickers and traveler's notebooks that I'm still not ready to let go of or, you know, put in exile in a different section of my house. So they're here for now and we'll see how it goes. Here I have on this side, I have sketchbooks that are either empty or that I started working in them. And I have my watercolor sketchbooks on the top shelf, and then on the shelf underneath it here, other sketchbooks. I decided to separate it not just because I didn't have space in one, you know, cube for everything, but because I mostly use the sketchbooks, the watercolor sketchbooks myself. And then the other ones I many times use with my kids or my 6-year-old because she doesn't need the fancy watercolor stuff. Now you might notice here, this is one of the inserts that IKEA offers that you can kind of build in or add to their Kallax. There are a ton of options. You can go for, you know, the baskets, or you can go for doors. They have also glass doors. They have drawers, which I'll show you later, and I have a bit of reservation about those, but it definitely looks nice. And this is one of them, and I actually originally thought it would be great for paper. I was thinking maybe to use something like this to house all of my crochet and knitting patterns that I print out. But I ended up using it here for some tools that I don't know if I actually need this to be so handy, because these are just not things that I'm using so much these days. So there are like a few kinds of trimmers here. And yeah, if you use trimmers, if you're more into, you know, like mixed media or junk journaling and you have such tools or scrapbooking, then you might also find this insert useful. And also, as I said, I think for paper, it would be good. The disadvantage of all of these inserts that, again, you're kind of losing a little bit of the space, just like the real estate, because they take up some, but it definitely can look neater and help you with organization. So definitely worth to consider and check all the options. At the top here, I don't know if you can see, but there's one box here. It's hard to see because it's white, but you can probably see the hole. And then another one here. And then a couple of things that I just put here for now because I'm not sure if I want to keep them in the room. So it's still a work in progress, but I figure it's, you know, it's pretty good now, so I might as well just show you and then maybe give you some updates. So the boxes are for sentimental items. I have mostly photos in this one. They're really large, very, you know, they look nice. They are very, very sturdy plastic, much more sturdy than these ones, and they cost accordingly. So for example, I think these boxes, I think they cost like €1.50 or 3 euros, something like this. And then the lid costs another euro or euro and a half. And then these ones here, they come also with a lid and they cost about 20 euros. But I think first of all, the white gives you that clean look, and it's a huge mess inside. I don't want it to be see-through. I don't need to see it through it. I know it's in there. This one has like most of my diaries from my younger years, and then this one has photos. All of my photo albums moved to the living room because they weren't serving anyone here. They were just taking up space, and I needed that space. All of these shelves here were taken by scrapbooking albums, and now they're in the living room, and people can pull out albums and, you know, look through them. So I did remove a lot of things from this room that I didn't feel I wanted or needed here. And of course, I know I'm very, very privileged to have those options. But it's just something to think about. If you have options, if you have space, if you have other alternatives, areas in the house that you can utilize, maybe think about what you actually want in your creative space and what is just taking up room. This zone is part of the artsy zone, but it's specifically this area here is more geared towards painting with my 6-year-old. She loves to come in here because this is obviously the most colorful room in the house. And so many times we sit here, and I really wanted to create these two separate areas. This is where mommy has her fancy stuff. We'll look at that later. And this is where we can paint together. And then here, very, very easy to reach and take down and then put back up when we're done. We have all the pencils and pens and brush markers, things we use very, very often alongside watercolors. Those are the main mediums that we use when we paint together. Now, the desk is, I don't know, I kind of like it, but maybe I'll change my mind or decide to make it a little bit cleaner looking. But this was a kitchen table in my husband's apartment like 20 years ago. And then I think it stayed here in Austria while we lived in Israel for a few years. And then when we moved, we took it back, and it was my computer table for about 10 years. And it opens and doubles in space, like in surface. But you can see here, I don't know if you can see, but there are like two plates that fold. The hinges are on the other side. And you can open this and then it's really big. So I don't really feel like I want that huge table or need it. For me, as a messy person, it's always kind of tempting. When I have a big surface, there are just like piles and piles of stuff. I try to avoid it, and I think this is plenty of space to, paint together with Lily, my daughter. This I mentioned, this little paper holder, a newspaper holder, is perfect for kind of standard size blocks of any paper that you're using. So you can see I have here quite a selection. These are actually, most of them are pretty old. I've kind of become more specific with my preferences, and I mostly use a paper from Hennemühle, which is actually too big to fit here, I think. It might be able to fit here, but I have another space for it. But this is very, very handy. If you use any kinds of papers, you might really enjoy these. And I actually stacked two of these. I think each one, when you buy them, they come with 5 these little, shelves, and I stacked 2 on top, so I have 10. sitting together on the wall. You might also notice that I painted the wall pink. I love color, that's my thing. I'm all about color. And I wanted a bit of color in my room, not too much because I have so many things and it already kind of feels almost like cluttered and messy to a degree just because of the sheer volume of stuff. But I did want a little bit of color, and this also helped me continue designing the room and kind of create again these zones. So my arty zone is more pink. And it's kind of, the idea that I had is that it's like pink, then there's a bit of purple, then it goes into the blue, and then it goes a bit more into turquoise. I might continue on that, you know, rainbow order theme as I continue to improve things. Okay, here you can see my second Raskog that was black, and I spray painted it with this really beautiful lavender paint. It looks a little bit bluer on camera. In real life, it's a bit less blue, and I absolutely love it. It looks fantastic. I needed about 3 cans of spray paint. I used the one from Eddie, I want to say this brand is called. I think it's German, and it's just like spray paint. And I love, love, love how it looks. And basically what I have on it is the top tier, which is the easiest to get into. It has my go-to mixed media supplies and some additional watercolor supplies. So you see I have here brushes. I have here my pencils and my pastels, which I use almost every time I sit down to paint. And a spray bottle, actually 2 spray bottles. These are on the top tier, which is the easiest to reach. Then the second tier is actually right now, I have some watercolor markers there. So I don't know if this will remain like this. Here I said, I'm not really sure. Right now it has like this little IKEA plastic divider, and it has some watercolor markers that I really would like to use more, but I don't know if that's happening. And then at the bottom here, I have, these are just like some extra stuff. I need to go through probably most of them. I can find them a new place. I actually don't want all of these cups hanging on the trolley. I want it to be more like bare without additional stuff. So I have to work on that. But here I have some watercolor palettes that are easy kind to pull out, and those are the ones that I allow Lily to use. So those are mostly, you know, student grade paint or artist grade paint that, you know, I have a lot of and I don't feel too connected to or too precious with. Moving on to my area, and this is my main table. It's not the most pretty one, but I had it, it stayed. As you can see till now, the only piece of furniture that I added was that additional storage that I mentioned that I put on top of my existing Kallax. And then the other stuff I bought was, you know, boxes, like things to organize. But I tried as much as I could to work with what I had. So here you can see I have here some brushes and additional supplies that are more relevant to my painting and less to Lily. And I don't know if you can see here, but I had this metal pole here and I spray painted it pink, and it matches really, really nicely to the wall. This is my main area. The table is what I had, and I didn't want to spend money I didn't have to spend. I don't know if I'll do something to the surface of it. Right now it has, I don't know if you can see, you can probably see in my videos, it has this basically sticker on it that looks like, you know, kind of white gray wood. But it's just a sticker. This is a super cheap table from IKEA. Underneath it, on top of it, there's nothing interesting. I have sadly the kind of the ugliest item in the room is this camera arm. I could probably spray paint that also, but yeah, I didn't want to mount it off the wall. It's black. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. Underneath here, I have this Alex drawer unit where I keep my watercolor tubes and paintings and empty paper pads that are too big to fit on that other area. This is my little cute blue wall that I want to change this photo. I really like the photo, but I don't think it necessarily fits the whole vibe, and I also don't like the frame, so I'll probably change that. But all in all, I really love this corner. So you can see this kind of transitions us to this area. A few things I haven't been able to kind of figure out the perfect way to store them. You can see here I have, this is just canvas that is obviously not stretched. You can't store it standing up because the canvas wrinkles, and it's very hard to kind of remove those wrinkles. So it really needs to lie down like this. And I need to figure out if there is any solution that I can come up with. Moving on to the home office area. This area right here, I'm just editing a different video. This is not ideal. And if there's a way I can clean this up, I will try to tackle that. Basically, you see I have here my computer, my printer, then like papers and documents. And these drawers, I have another one here. You can see a little bit. The plan, which is not fully materialized till now, is to only have their computer-related things, home office, camera and video gear. Right now, I think I have in a couple of them still some art supplies, because these drawers used to be below a table that I had, where I now have my painting table for me and Lily. So yeah, so they used to serve a different purpose. But then I moved them here, and there should be plenty of space to house all those things that I want to. So to this area, I bought this long plate from IKEA and this one leg, and then I reused, or upcycled, or no, just reused these. Also here, I don't know if you can see, but here I just had this extra shelf. It's just like a little tiny shelf from IKEA that I bought, I think 10 years ago, and never used it. And now I put it up there, and it's kind of my little charging station. So that cable mess is mostly tucked in that corner. So I have a designated space for it, and it's not an eyesore, and it's not in the middle of anything. So I really am trying to think about finding solutions that make sense. I completely forgot to film my label maker, so here it is. It's from Brother, and it is fantastic. It's called the P-Touch D400. I've never had a label maker before, and I absolutely love it. It got good reviews on Amazon. The price was right, so I decided to invest. And so far, I haven't used it a ton, but I'm really, really happy with how it performs. It's a lot of fun to use a label maker. We're moving on to the yarn area. So I want to show you a few things here. Here I made a little division in this area, and this is the yarn, crochet, and knitting area, and then I'll show you a little other section after the corner of the room that is dedicated to kind of all other fiber related crafts. I have some weaving supplies, some sewing supplies, some punch needle stuff. All that is in that area. This is only for knitting and crochet, which is my main textile related craft. I crochet almost every day. It's the same way for me with art supplies. I'm not the kind of person who can, plan something and then go out and buy the color of yarn that match that. I need to have things around me that inspire me. I need to have colors, different textures that I can pull out and start making something. I use these every day and I enjoy them, and it brings me joy, and you'll see how I like to also incorporate these things into my life and interior design. So let's just talk a little bit about this. So this is another possibility that you have when you want to add an insert to these Kallax units from IKEA. So you can see here I have like a 4 square Kallax Then here I have an 8 one, and then there's a 4 one and another 4. These I collected over the years as I accumulated more things and needed the space to house them. I had different stuff here that I sold. I had like this cool kind of architect or graphic designer table that I bought at a flea market, and I just wasn't using it. So I sold it and made space for yarn. Yeah, so these drawers, these are very cute. They look really cute, and you know, they're drawers. What I don't like about them is that they're quite small, so you will lose a lot of the space here, but it definitely looks tidier. So here you can see I have, this is one insert, you buy it in a package, and then this is another one. And what these drawers house, all of my crochet and knitting supplies, needles, stitch markers, those kind of things. Yeah, it's not ideal. Here, I would ideally want to tidy this up a bit more, but I'm not sure exactly how, so we'll see. I have to think about that. Here I have all of my patterns that I print out, and some are free, some are, you know, paid, so I can make all the crochet stuff that I make. So that is that. I added, since I didn't have enough room here for all my yarn. Yarn takes up a lot of space. I added some boxes. So these are kind of the ones that are more seasonal, and I kind of want to see what I have. And then these here are more wintry, so it looks a bit cleaner, and I don't feel like I need to see everything, but it's still kind of small and accessible that I can open them and kind of see mostly what is in there. Moving on to probably one of my favorite areas of the room. So I have this cute chair, which my husband bought me for, I think, an anniversary. These chairs are very, very common in Israel, and I had 1 or 2 in my apartment when, you know, when I was living in Israel. I had one, and I absolutely loved it. It's like the most comfortable thing ever. And then we moved here, and I didn't have my chair anymore, and I really wanted it. So eventually my husband bought one for me. It's not as, I think, high quality as the one I had in Israel, but it's still super, super comfy. So this is my little hangout, sit, crochet, listen to podcasts, audiobooks, all those things corner. Now behind it, as I mentioned, there's another little kallax box, and that one houses all my other textile related, fiber related supplies. So what I added here, this is like a kind of a stick on, it's completely covered now so you can't see it. It's a stick on kind of a felt board, and I used these little thumbtacks to attach swatches of crochet and knitting, you know, stitches and yarns. And then I added some flowers that I made actually for this little shawl, but decided not to put them on. So I just added them. I think it looks super, super cute. I love this bag. This is from America and Beyond, and it's just gorgeous. I use it, but when I'm not using it, it hangs here because it makes me happy. And there's a little bit of like fairy lights that I added here. Now behind us, actually, there's another one of these drawers insert in turquoise. There, you can see it's like turquoise, and my idea was that this area is a little bit more turquoise, and maybe I kind of want to add things to the wall. I don't know, maybe paint a little bit, maybe create little shapes, kind of like a very, very basic mural. I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about it. You can also see my typewriters here. I don't use it much, but I love it, and I love the way that it looks. So it's purely decorative. It doesn't really make any sense to any of the zoning plans. Yeah, it's just pretty. These are just like some empty baskets that I normally use for my works in progress in knitting and crochet. They're just here for the moment. Probably should do this. So more of the turquoise is showing. Yeah, okay, so let's move on to the last section, which is the library. And this, I removed a lot of things, and I decided the only books I want to keep here are sketchbooks and art and craft related books. And so I had here some books from my medicine days, some books from my German studying days, just like some fiction, and yeah, probably a few other like miscellaneous. And so they all found a different home in other sections of the house. I know not everyone has such options, but that's what I decided I wanted to do. And you can see this here is a little bit messy. I wanted to add actually another word about this area here. You might see stuff popping. So I have here a few things that are just too big to store anywhere else. A loom, some larger sheets of papers, I think like a cutting mat, you know, for also for paper, but like that self-healing cutting mats. So they are here. I just put a piece of like a shelf that I haven't used to kind of block most of it. So it does look much cleaner, and then the chair usually covers it also. But that's kind of what's behind this area. And yeah. Okay, back to the library. So I try to kind of keep things organized, have a little bit of breathing room. Ideally, I would probably want it to be a bit emptier, but you can see also like the shelf, like this, the middle shelf is a little bit buckling under the weight because this is one of the cheapest options. I've had this for years and years. I don't even know if like we bought it for this house or if it came with us from a different, like my husband's old apartment or something. Not even sure, but I didn't want to spend money on this. This little shelf here is attached to the bookcase, and it used to house my CDs, and I decided I don't need them in my room, so I packed them up and they are in a box in the basement, probably preparing themselves to the day that I decide they don't need to be in the house, but I'm not ready to let go of them just yet because I collected them through my forming years. And yeah, they mean a lot to me, even if I don't actually listen to them. They just represent, you know, something important in my development. So, but in the meantime, you can see there are a few empty shelves here at the bottom, but I just used it for some more sketchbooks. These are, I think most of them are like filled or full. And then a little bit of yarn at the top, just because it makes me happy to see those colors. Yeah, this is a little bit of a mess. I did plan to kind of add a shelf. Originally, I thought on top of this area here, I thought I would add a shelf, but I think it's a bit too high. I think I'll never be able to like reach there. So I thought about like putting a shelf and then putting some of these more messy looking sketchbooks there. I kind of want to keep my sketchbooks here. I feel they need to live with me in this space for now, but I don't know, maybe I'll try to find, maybe like I can find a nice box that I can fit here on the top, maybe something again like clean and white. The other ones I think are too big and I think they would just stick out, and I don't want that. So maybe I can find something a little bit more cleaner looking and I can stick them there. Just because I really want to keep this clean look. Also, another rule that I have now is not to put anything on the floor. I always had like piles of stuff, and again, that just made me feel a bit anxious in my own space. And so I really want to try and keep things neat. I just added a few hooks on the walls and hung some of my, like, how do you call it? An apron for when I'm arting, a few bags. This is my insanely oversized crochet bag that I kind of ignored the pattern and continued working on, and now it's just this ridiculous size. So yeah, but it's hanging there and the colors are cute. And then here I have this basket which also houses the tripod. When I'm not using it, I put it in there and it looks a little bit neater. It still sticks out. I mean, it's like a large tripod, the one that I'm currently filming on, but when it's not in use, it goes there. And I have here a few more boxes that are empty, that if I decided I needed them, I could pull them out. So yeah, it's not perfect, but it's tidy, or tidier than before. I could absolutely add a few more small shelves here. I could add a few more shelves also in this area. And I might do that, you know, just like start using this room more and see what I need and adjust accordingly. So this is it. Still a work in progress, but you know, most of the heavy lifting, I would say it's 90% done, and now it's just tweaking and perfecting. And so I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was inspiring to you. If you have any questions about specific products, you can leave me a comment below, of course, but please add a timestamp so I know exactly when you saw what you want to know about, so I can hopefully be helpful, because this video will be very long, and so it might be difficult for me to know what you mean when you ask, you know, where is this from? So that's kind of it. And I'm super, super happy. Oh, the kind of another splurge decision that I made was the carpet. I looked at a ton of carpets and finally found this one, which is a cotton and polyester blend. And I absolutely love it. It's gorgeous, and I feel like it kind of brings the room together, even though I don't really have much like orange or this, I don't know, more of like a muted purpley color. It's mostly pink, but still has that warmth that I feel works with the wooden floors. And on one side, you can see it has that touch of mint, which I feel kind of ties in like this area of the room, that I think I will add a few more touches of some minty color. I'm not sure exactly how and where, but as I said, I feel like, you know, I'm kind of, here is more of a turquoise area. I have the drawers and the typewriter. I love, love, love the carpet. So that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you hopefully soon in another video. Have a wonderful summer. Take care. Bye-bye.